Today marks a seminal moment for digital assets and global dollar dominance, with President Trump signing the Genius Act into law. This bill provides the fast-growing stablecoin market with the regulatory clarity it needs to grow into a trillion-dollar industry. Stablecoins represent a revolution in digital finance. The dollar now has an internet-native payment rail that is fast, frictionless, and free of middlemen. This groundbreaking technology will buttress the dollar status as a global reserve currency, expand access to the dollar economy for billions across the globe, and lead to a surge in demand for U.S. Treasuries, which back stablecoins. The Genius Act is a win-win-win for everyone involved: stablecoin users, stablecoin issuers, and the U.S. Treasury Department. I want to thank President Trump for his visionary leadership in shepherding this bill into law, and Congress for rapidly advancing this critical legislation. By expanding financial freedom and reinforcing dollar dominance, stablecoins will play a critical role.
Hey guys, you heard it here first. The U.S. has officially passed its very first law on stablecoin issuance. The Genius Act, signed in July 2025, marks a historic milestone, the nation's first major federal law that directly regulates stablecoins and sets the ground rules for how digital dollars operate. Welcome to the very first episode of the Bitcoin Tribune. I'm Richard Sunny Cruz, and our mission is simple: to research, report, and show how Bitcoin and digital money are shaping our lives. From policies in Washington to businesses in our community, if you're tired of being left in the dark about money, this show is for you. Today, we're diving into how the U.S. is regulating stablecoins, what it means for our economy, and how Bitcoin gives us options outside the system. First up, the Genius Act. Signed into law in July 2025, is the first federal framework for dollar-backed stablecoins. Here's what it does. Requires every stablecoin to be backed 100% by cash deposits or U.S. short-term treasuries. Requires monthly public disclosures so you can see what's backing your money. And only certain approved entities like banks or licensed firms can issue them. In plain English, the U.S. government is saying if you want to issue digital dollars, you must follow strict rules and back every coin with government debt. Why it matters. Stablecoins tie directly to U.S. debt. U.S. debt fuels our economy and keeps things running normally. But demand for the U.S. dollar and treasuries has declined in recent years. A $1 trillion stablecoin industry can create new demand for U.S. debt. Here's how. Every stablecoin must hold short-term treasuries as reserves. That means stablecoins can create new demand for U.S. government debt. More demand equals easier borrowing for Washington, but also locks the digital economy into the U.S. debt machine. So in a way, stablecoins help the U.S. borrow more money while giving private companies control over digital dollars. At the same time, countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, collectively known as BRICS, are exploring alternatives to the U.S. dollar. The Genius Act is partly a response. It protects the dollar's dominance by making digital dollars safe, regulated, and widely usable, helping the U.S. stay ahead in global trade. But it also means the system is tightly controlled. Most everyday people and/or businesses can't issue stablecoins. It's bank and fintech territory. Now, personally, I'm all for the dollar's dominance being reduced. But before that happens, I like to see our dependence on it reduced first by being more independent and community reliant. This is exactly where Bitcoin and local circular economies come in. Independence doesn't start nor stop with money. We can start becoming more self-reliant in our utilities, like generating electricity with solar panels or microgrids, and capturing, filtering, transferring our own water. We can grow more of our own food through community farming, backyard gardens, and even homesteading. and even grow herbs and natural remedies to rely less on expensive, heavily processed foods and pharmaceuticals. By taking these steps, we reduce our exposure to global supply shocks, keep resources circulating locally, and strengthen our communities, all while using Bitcoin and circular economies to maintain financial freedom. How Bitcoin gives us options. But first, let's start with the problems with stablecoins and fiat. One is issuer risk. Stablecoins rely on a company like Circle or a bank to manage reserves. Governments can regulate, freeze, or even shut them down. Fiat is fully government controlled. Unlimited supply. Dollars and stablecoins pegged to dollars can be printed endlessly. This inflates away purchasing power over time. Permissioned access. To use fiat or most stablecoins, you need a bank account, KYC approval, or trust in an intermediary. Billions globally are excluded. Lastly, backed by debt. Stablecoins hold some kind of short term treasury as reserve. This ties them to the US debt machine, meaning users are still exposed to the risk of government over borrowing. Here's the key difference with Bitcoin: there's no issuer, no CEO, no permission needed. As long as you have internet access, some kind of phone or computer, you can use money. Supply is capped at 21 million, unlike dollars or stablecoins tied to government debt. Anyone with a phone or internet can use it, no bank needed. Again, Bitcoin is backed by math, code, and energy, and the idea that its decentralized network would be more of use than a centralized network. Anyone can run the software and verify the rules, while proof of work ensures real energy is spent to secure it. It's trustless, transparent, and open to all. In short, Bitcoin gives you a choice outside the US debt system, outside the banks, and outside the government controlled digital money. We talked a lot about stablecoins and the debt system, but here's where Bitcoin stands apart. You can actually spend it today directly without touching banks, stablecoins, or credit cards. Two quick shout outs to businesses making this real. SecretEnergy.com, they accept Bitcoin for their health supplements, and I personally think their Sheet Legit is one of the best out there. And GoldenTallow.com, another Bitcoin friendly store I found through Oshi, the Bitcoin Rewards app. I haven't ordered from there yet, but it's amazing to see small businesses plugging into Bitcoin payments. And here's why this matters. If you use a bank card, you're paying 2 to 3% in fees, and that money gets siphoned out of the business and or the community. If you use a stable coin, again, you're still tied to the US debt system and relying on an issuer's permission. But with Bitcoin, your payment is peer-to-peer, instant, and borderless. The merchant keeps more, in turn meaning you may pay less and no middleman can freeze or reverse it. Quick tip: when spending, always double check whether you're paying over the Lightning Network or the main Bitcoin chain. If it's Lightning, you'll see the invoice starting with LNBC. If it's an on chain transaction, it will be a regular Bitcoin address starting with 1, 3, or BC1. Using the wrong one means the payment won't go through, so always check before you hit send. Now, here's the bigger picture. Using Bitcoin's network specifically is important because it's the only one with no issuer, no company, no single point of failure. Every payment is almost like a vote or a signal that this is open, decentralized, and this is valuable. When millions of us choose to spend and save in Bitcoin instead of fiat or stablecoins, we're collectively saying we don't want our money controlled by governments or corporations. We want money controlled by math and by the people who use it. That's how Bitcoin gives us not just financial freedom, but a collective voice. Every transaction strengthens the network, reinforces the rules we all agree on, and proves the system works without banks or government. This is more than just payments, it's participation in building a new financial system. That's it for episode 1 of the Bitcoin Tribune. We'll keep bringing you policy updates, Bitcoin news, and community highlights so you can see what's really happening with money. Once the community grows, we'll dive into My First Bitcoin, a Bitcoin curriculum built around the idea that independent, impartial, community-led Bitcoin education can change the world. Please follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and join the conversation. And remember, knowledge is freedom, and Bitcoin is an option. I'm proud to say that when it comes to the monetary system, we finally have choices. I'm Richard Sunny Cruz, and I'll see you next time on the Bitcoin Tribune.